All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to Insert More Coins. Tonight or afternoon or wherever you're at, I have the esteemed pleasure of having one of the coolest dudes I've ever talked to. Got some big announcements tonight, and the author of a fantastic horror book, Who Put Bella in the Witch Elm? That is the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Blake Myers. What's going on, my friend?
Just adjusting to the fact that you had time change and I did not.
Hey, four minutes late is not bad at all. I will say that, especially whenever it's like this come out of nowhere.
Yeah,
So it happens. It ain't no big deal.
it does.
No.
Yeah.
No. All right, we've let's see, we got a couple of people in here. Tim McKay, what's going on, my friend? How are you doing?
Love the Tims.
Yeah. Hello, Sarah. How
And
are you?
Sarah.
I just watched a live with her on, was it Chris's channel? The Bearded Book Beast? Was that
I
right?
think so.
Okay.
I just watched her on something else as well, and I don't remember. Maybe it was with Saffron. I don't know. She's on.
Could have
She's on
been.
all the time, and I try to watch her when I can.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Sarah,
awesome.
I'll have to get you on my channel too. So you
Oh,
can just
yeah.
make the rounds.
That's right.
Well, so all right. Being that the time change and it is now 3:00 Eastern, what time is it where you're at?
8 p.m.
8 p.m. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
And this happens every year. We're
Mhm.
usually 1 week separate from you guys. And
Okay.
I for some reason thought that our time change was much further into March. Maybe it's next week, maybe it's in 2 weeks, I don't know. And
Yeah.
so I didn't even think about it. I was like,
Yeah.
well, time to get in the car and go to the office.
Yeah. like I told you, I had a backup plan that I might have had to pull the card out and be like, okay, I need someone on
Mark
here
is a
quick.
wonderful backup plan.
That's
Mark
right.
is a wonderful
That's right.
backup plan. What a great guy.
Oh me. All right. So I guess we will get started. Real quick, closer to the end, Blake has got a pretty big announcement that he's gonna announce, and sounds pretty good. So we will hold that. So don't leave. But let's get started. I guess we could say, how about you tell us about your book?
Well, if you like a good ghost story and you like a little crime, a little mystery going on, then I think this book is perfect for you. Because I just ripped it right out of the headlines. So just like what was it, like SVU or something like that, one of those
Yeah.
Law and Orders, like straight from the headlines. That's what I did, except the headlines were 1943. So I had to rewind it a little bit.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write it?
I'm as slow of a writer as I am a reader.
Yep.
So it took me, I think, 2 years from
Okay.
the time that I sat down with the first notion, I started to get my ideas on paper and just going through possibilities and characters and settings and all that wonderful stuff. Because, I am a plotter, not a
Yeah.
pantser. And so, yeah, that took me a while. And then, of course, then writing it, getting that first draft down is so important. And then
Yeah.
finally to the end, it really took me about two solid years. But I would have to say there was a delay in there. I did have to wait for the wonderful Catherine Hall as my editor. She wasn't available immediately, and so I had to wait a little bit with her. And then my graphic artist as well. I did have to wait a while for her too. So that delayed it a little bit longer, but that gave me more time to do revisions and to sit down with Catherine and be very careful over our edits together. And I didn't have to rush anything because I was just waiting for the artwork. So
Yeah. I always find that real interesting because, like, I've talked to some people kind of like you, like 2 years is pretty fast if you think about it, as far as writing a book on some standards, because there's been a few people I've talked to that have been like 10 and 15 years to write
yeah,
their first novel, and it's either they've thought about it forever or like they've just slowly wrote something, and it just took them time. So that's pretty
well,
impressive.
if if you count the moment where I said I want to write a book,
Hmm.
then it was close to 8 years.
Okay.
Because, well, actually about 9 years, because it was first in 2016 when I first got the idea, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write a book. And I decided to sit down and start writing. And of course, as I mentioned to lots of people, and it's pretty public knowledge, this is actually book three. The other two books are just, they haven't been finished yet, and they probably will be in the future, but just not right now because I abandoned those projects to do this one. So,
Okay.
so
All
yes,
right.
but it did take me a while too. I think there's a lot of growth and development in any first time author where you're learning the craft, you're figuring it out, what style you like, what style you don't like, and how you want to do research, and all those things. And then even stupid stuff like, what software do I like to write in, all that kind of stuff,
Yeah.
and that takes a while to even figure out. Some people like, no, Microsoft Word, another Atticus, whatever, so I think those things also slow people down, trying to figure out their not actually how to write, but how to write. It's
Yeah.
weird to say, but yeah, how they want to do it, how they want to approach the problem. So I think it's natural. And then once you get that first book out of the way, I think hopefully at that point, then you got your system and things start to go a little smoother.
Yeah. Did you like in the beginning, was you thinking like horror all the way type deal, or was you thinking of other things, or like was it like
I was dark
no
fantasy. The
dark fantasy?
first one.
Okay.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
it's a trilogy. It's planned out for the most part. I mean, very roughly. And the first book has about 70,000 words in it. um, and I like the story, and I'm always thinking about that story. It's always in the back of my mind, what the characters are doing,
Yeah.
and I could probably pick that up right where I left off. I think so. But I do like fantasy. I don't read as much fantasy though. Um, and I hope I don't insult anybody. I feel like fantasy sometimes is the same thing regurgitated, as well as, I don't know. I think I just get these old notions in my head of fantasy is for nerds. Well, I am a
Yeah.
nerd, but I mean, which is funny,
Yeah.
and how dare I even insult myself by saying it's for nerds when you're a nerd.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I just sometimes I feel like I look at some of these fantasy novels and I was like, ugh, ugh. And so I actually prefer to watch fantasy. So I love to see
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter if it's crappy, if you're talking crawl, whatever, like, okay, I'll watch that.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and I think also I am such a slow reader, and my attention span is so bad that some of these big fantasy books could be very daunting. Like you
Yeah.
just read it,
Oh
and
my
and
gosh.
it was hard to read. Just the size of it, and the same with The
Yeah.
Shining. I just finished reading The Shining, and it's just so big, and man, it just takes a lot out of me. So I
Yeah.
prefer
Yeah.
just normal books, and usually horror, with the exception of like Stephen King and a few others, are usually sitting in that kind of normal
Exactly.
range of
Yeah.
70,000, 80,000, 90,000, but usually rarely over 100,000 words, unless you're against Stephen King or something like that.
Yeah. I
So
think
that's
that,
more my speed.
yeah, I'm the same way. Like I'm a very slow reader. Like if I can read 50 pages a day, I'm doing fantastic. Now, as most people know, like I drive for a living, so I'm on the road 10 to 11 hours a day. So that's how I can burn through some audiobooks
Hmm.
and how I can
Yeah.
get through like it took me a week. That's 1150 pages, but if
Yeah.
I'm sitting there for 11, now I can't do the whole thing at
Yeah.
once, of course.
Yeah.
It's just too much. But that definitely helps. But the thing I like about horror so much now, because I can't watch horror movies, it is not for me. I don't like the jump
Understand.
scares and all that. But reading it,
Understand.
it's really good.
Yeah.
And it's always to the point. There's not like, okay, like in fantasy, where my one downside, or two, I'd say. One, a lot of the stuff's too long. And two, they take so long to get stuff going.
Yeah.
Like, let's go
Yeah.
on this journey, and we got to spend 150 to 200 pages of them just talking about them walking through the woods.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah.
boring to me. and I can't
Yeah.
help it.
Yeah. But but the idea though of fantasy though, like the notion of it, I love it.
Oh yeah, yeah. I
It's
watch a
just
movie
it's
any day of the week.
wonderful. Yeah, it's wonderful. So I do like fantasy, and that's why I feel like I hope I didn't insult anyone with what I said earlier, because fantasy is a wonderful genre, and I will finish either this book or another one that's dark
Mm,
fantasy. I'm going to, because I do care about the genre and I do like it, but I think it's just the nature of it. Like anything, you have writing conventions, you have reader expectations, and people who are hardcore, you know, they do expect a thicker, you know,
yeah,
beefier volume of work. They want a tome, a true tome. They don't want a book; they want a tome. So
exactly.
and there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with it. It's a struggle bus for me. So
Yeah. Like Sarah said, I think there's an interesting wider conversation about how the perspective of fantasy has changed over the last few decades as well.
yes, yes, I agree.
100%. Yeah.
Yep,
Now,
yep,
I have only been reading for the past little over 2 years. Like, I've never been a reader, never was my thing. I played sports and video games, and that was it. And then I turned 40, and I'm like, I guess it's time now. I need to start reading. So I'm an old guy now. But yeah, I mean, and it's awesome. Like, I wish that's my one regret is I wish I would have started reading so
yeah,
much earlier, because I feel like I'm
yeah,
so far behind now. I'm just picking and choosing. Oh, I got to read this. I got to read,
yep.
this is one of the best books of all time.
Well,
It
I
never
mean,
ends.
there's a crazy statistic. I forget exactly the number, but it's really high. Like 50% of all people never pick up a book after high school.
Yeah.
I mean, that blows my mind. And not now I'm making up that number 50%. I can't remember the
Yeah.
actual statistic, but it's
It's way
really
up
high.
there. Yeah.
And it might even be higher than 50%. I just can't remember. But it's just it's crazy. And I almost
Yeah.
became one of those people. I love movies so much. Being from Ohio, Ohio is big into movies because that's all we got. Corn and movies,
Yeah.
Cedar Point, So we watch a lot of movies. It's a common thing in college. We're constantly watching movies as the guys in the dorm, going to the theater or whatever. We watch
Yeah.
Scream 7 times in a row in the same day.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it wasn't the same day. I think we did it in two days. But nonetheless, we loved the movie Scream.
Yeah.
And I think that I fell plague to this idea, like my ADHD brain of like, oh, just instant gratification, get it done and over with 2 hours,
Mhm.
maximum investment. And
Yeah.
I walked away from reading for a long time. And then I think it was Lord of the Rings, when it came out. Then I, of course, I had to read it, because I'd actually never read it.
I haven't yet neither.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hey, listen, it's worth it.
Oh yeah.
It's
Yeah.
worth it.
Everyone
Even
tells me
though
that.
they talk about walking in the brambles for a long time,
Yeah.
but hey, it's worth it. And I read that, and man, that one just stuck with me. I think I closed that book, and I was just like,
Yeah.
I felt it, that whole solemn experience. Just like you feel at the end of the movie, when Frodo's there and he
Yeah.
looks back at everyone, he finally smiles, but you had that sense of kind of like joyful heartbreak,
Mhm.
and that really stuck with me in that book. And I basically picked it right back up and started reading it again. And then that set off the kind of like this motion of I'm going to read some more. I'm going to
Yeah.
read some more. So now I started picking up some classics, some sci-fi like Hitchhiker's Guide, things like that. Just like things that I knew that existed, things that I knew were classics, but just I had never really been exposed to. And I'm like, I'm gonna read it. Everyone talks about Hitchhiker's Guide. Everyone
Mhm.
talks about Hannibal Lecter, Silence of the Lambs. You've seen the movies, read the book.
Yeah. I've
And I
not read
did.
that one.
And so I loved it.
Yeah.
It's good.
Hitchhiker's Guide. After I never read the book, and I think I watched the movie probably twice, and I loved the movie. And then
Yeah,
I
it's fun.
went and read the book, and I was like, the movie is terrible compared to
Oh
the
yeah.
book.
Oh
It's
yeah. And the
terrible.
movie's good. That's the crazy thing. The
I
movie is
know it
good.
is. Yeah.
And it's terrible in comparison to the book. But what
Yeah.
throws you, I think, is that the movie combines the books.
Yeah.
So when you finish that book, you're like, wait, hold on. Like, we're not done yet. You're
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, there's another book to follow. Yeah, I gotta
Yeah.
read that, so
Yeah. It reminds me of like The Hobbit. I just read it last month, but I've watched the trilogy of The Hobbit I guess 3 or 4 times at least, and it's like, why do we add? For one, this should have been one movie. I mean, if you made it
Maybe
2.5 hours,
maybe
two at
two at
best,
best.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there's no reason for three, and there's like
No,
half the stuff that's in it is
no.
not even in the book.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah. It's
like, what
not.
are we doing?
Yeah. I mean, I can understand, you might have to add a few things here and there because nothing perfectly translates to the screen. Nothing.
Oh yeah,
So
yeah,
you cannot have a book 100% go to the screen with no changes at all. That's
yeah,
impossible because certain things that you describe in a book, you can reveal it in 3 seconds on screen just because you
exactly.
see it. And then other
Yeah,
things like you just can't make that jump logically between these types of story cuts in a movie that you can in a book. And so I think that you're always going to have those changes. You're always going to have those adjustments that are made, and maybe some characters might get kind of like amalgamation going on, whatever. But I think that there's appropriate changes,
mhm,
and then there's like wild and drastic changes. Now, I
yeah,
will say this though: there is one time when I thought that a story was just radically and drastically changed, and I thought it was wonderful. But the book is still one of my favorites, and now I'm going to murder it because I always do this: The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, and
okay,
it was redone as a TV series on Netflix, directed by oh my gosh, he does a bunch of different movies. Oh my word, how can I forget his name? I love him. He's a young guy, Flanagan, Mike Flanagan. Thank you.
okay, okay,
And he's done a couple different remakes of old classic books, horror books, gothic horrors into movies on or a TV series on Netflix. But anyways, he really changed the story. I mean, there's like hardly anything that's the same. But at the same time, he found all these wonderful ways to honor the book from these little tiny tidbit of conversations here and there that he weaved in that were straight from the book, these little tiny things here. And you're just like, this is not the book. But at the same time, wow, he really honored the book. It's really
yeah,
surreal for me, as someone who traditionally hates the way that movies are or books are adapted into movies. But I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. Now, you're not going to like it. There's a lot of great jump scares in it. So I'm sorry, you're
uh,
going to have to sit
yeah,
this one out.
yeah. That's not going to be for me.
Yeah, it
Uh,
creeped me out pretty darn good. That's for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
Sarah says, I worry sometimes that people who adapt books to film sometimes forget they're difficult mediums until it's too close or too late.
Yeah.
That being said, I would pay a lot of money to see a Bella adaptation. Ooh.
I would pay a lot of money to
I
see
will
that
say
too.
this, talking about like this, and it may be too late and stuff. I'm very curious on how, which I'm sure everyone's heard the news, Sanderson finally is going to be able to make a movie. I'm very curious because he's the one that's actually writing the screen adaptation on
Yeah.
that, how that's going to work out because there's some really good stuff in that. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I really
Yeah. Yeah.
enjoy Mistborn, but what's he going to take out? And is it going to ruin it if he does it? Which I mean, he's so long
Well,
winded on everything. I think he'll be fine. So
you know, yeah, I mean, you have to. Like, Tom Bombadil got ripped out of Lord of the Rings. And to be honest,
yeah,
as a movie adaptation, it needed to be. So, yeah, there are certain things that can actually be sacrificed. They might be fan favorites, but they literally can be sacrificed for the sake of the story for
yeah,
time. So Tom
yeah,
Bombadil, I agree with the decision to rip it right out. Um, the end with the Shire, you see visions of it in the movie, where he
yeah,
kind of flash forwards visions of it, but maybe that could have been left. But at the same time, everybody felt like this movie had 10 endings. It would fade to black, and you're like, oh wow, the end of the movie. But of course, if you read the book, you're like, no, it's not the end of the movie.
yeah,
And then fade to black again. Oh, it's the end of the movie. Then and there's like
yeah,
10 fade to blacks, and you think it's the end. No, 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 no. It's not. Yeah.
yeah. Let's see. Tim said Hill House, Bly
Yes, there we
Manor,
go.
Midnight Mass, all great. Hill House,
And
the jump scare.
oh yes, with the crooked neck woman. Oh yeah, she's fantastic.
Uh,
Um, I didn't actually like Midnight Mass as much, but it was still good. It was quality. And of course, then there was the Usher, Fall of the House of Usher, which he did. He took all of the Poe stories and amalgamated those into, that's my word of the night, amalgamate, I guess.
there you go.
He merged them all into one unique story. So again, there's another thing. He completely redid, all those stories, Edgar Allan Poe stories, but at the same time, he honored them by the character names and certain little tidbits here and there, and it was great.
Yeah.
And his movie Oculus was a really good horror movie too. I did like that one.
Okay. So, what would you say your inspiration was in writing your book?
Her Real Murder.
Okay.
Let's just be honest here. It's a real
Yeah.
murder. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, the second that I discovered it and I found it on YouTube, I mean, that was just like I could not get that question out of my head, and I knew immediately that's the title of the book. There's no way you can not have that title of the book. There are other people who have done an adaptation of this and they haven't used it, and I'm like, the title's boring. And
Yeah.
in my eyes, I'm sorry, I still think my title's the best when it comes to, but it's not even my title. I didn't even come up with it. It's a legitimate question that was spray painted or written in chalk all over the town. So for 80 years. So, but it's just perfect. It's just such
Yeah.
a wonderful pulls you in. So, yeah, her actual murder really, really inspired me. But if you want to take stuff not related to her,
Hmm.
true story, things that truly inspired me. Samara from The Ring. Mm,
The movie?
oh yeah, the
Oh
the
my
little
gosh.
girl and The
That
Ring,
is
man.
that's the last movie I ever went to the theater and watched a horror movie. Right, that ended me right there.
And I don't
Her
blame you.
Oh my gosh, that thing, it
I don't
freaked
blame you.
me out.
Oh yeah, that was fantastic. It took me a long time to rewatch it again. But man, she just, the whole idea of just her creepiness. Oh, I just loved it. And so there were a lot of times when I just like I wanted to reproduce it without actually copying it. That's hard, to say I
Yeah.
want the essence of this moment without copying that moment. How do you do that? And hopefully I achieved it. But I don't know, maybe not. You guys can be the judge. But I I did. I found a lot of inspiration in her, just seeing her visually, how
Mm.
creepy she was.
Oh, yeah.
And then both the movie and the book, The Woman in Black, um, and by Susan Hill. Of course, the adaptation of the movie that I saw first and I loved best is the 2012 one with Daniel Radcliffe. Um, there are other adaptations of it, and definitely not the sequel. The sequels are terrible, but that movie also had some wonderful creepy jump scares, wonderful just creepy moments where you're like, okay, what's going to happen here? And then nothing happens. Um, and then the book itself was just a wonderful book. I loved it. And so I love both the book and the movie, and just her, man, that woman. She's in black, she's terrifying. So there was lots of things that I want to recreate that. So I really hope that in my naivety, as a debut author, I was able to capture some of those moments and reproduce them in my own unique way without being cheap and
Yeah.
copy, you know.
So have you seen the play?
No, I haven't seen the play. Just the movie. I did see the 1980s because not long after she wrote the book, the BBC did a movie adaptation, like a made-for-TV adaptation for it. I did see it, and a lot of classics people would say it was, it's the better version of it, and it probably is if you think about maybe the actual adaptation to it. But it was just too bright, literally, like just too bright. There was no dark moments, and I'm not saying that I hate it when the whole screen is black. Like that sucks. But
Yeah.
you also have to have a little bit of like dark, But back in the 1980s for TV, everything was really brightly lit,
Mhm.
on the stage sets, and that took away some of it. And then of course just the professionalism of the camera and the directing, the acting. Although the acting was good, and of course, scene sets, all that stuff. It just took me out, a little bit. But it's a good adaptation. A lot of people love it.
So
So you could
what?
watch that one probably and not be too terrified
Yeah.
because it's
Okay. Yeah.
it's
So
subdued.
yeah. So what influences did you have like to become an author? Like what got you into it?
Well, I've always been a fibber and a storyteller. I once told my math teacher in fourth grade that I had a pet bat that I could talk to.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
like, where did I come up with these things?
Yeah.
And then I had some story that I made up. I took from um, uh, some cartoon TV show. I don't remember. What may have been DuckTales or something like that. I don't know, but there was a scene in Egypt or whatever. And I took that and I adapted a story and I told my teacher, like, this really happened. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, and as I'm telling the story, I know it's like a total lie. But like I
Yeah.
had to tell the story to my teacher as if it was real. So I was just a fibber. So I loved making up stories, and I loved having my own little imagination of things. And I always thought it would be cool, like, oh, I could make a movie, I could do this, whatever. So this idea of creating stories in my head and making up stories and telling them as lies, to people, like, oh, this is true, um, it just, it stuck with me. And I think, being a liar for a living is kind of fun when you can do it as an author. You can lie all
Yeah.
you want, and it's fun, it's entertainment. Uh, okay, as long as you're not telling, nonfiction. Okay, then if you're doing nonfiction, then don't be a liar. But
Yeah. It's a little different.
yeah, totally different category of ethics and morality on that one.
Yeah. So what authors or authors like influenced you in your writing?
Oh, this is the worst question in the world
Oh, sorry.
because no. Because again, I am not well read. We kind of talked
Okay.
about at the beginning.
Yeah.
I started late. I hated reading when I was a kid. I read Dracula. Was one of my first horror movie or horror books I read in school because we had to pick something that was a classic. And I was like, I don't want to read Wuthering Heights. Although now I'm thinking I should because
You
it is
probably should have
technically
read it.
gothic. I probably should have, even though it's a lot of romance. I think I'm going to go back and read that eventually. But, Scarlet Letter and, that type of stuff, the Grapes of Wrath. And like, why do I got to read these things? And we had some flexibility and Dracula was on the list. So I read that one and I really enjoyed it. Um, and that I don't know, it was in high school, 90s, but it kept me completely from going in the dark reading wise. But still, I was just such a late bloomer on it. And again, my ADHD really hurts on those things. So it can take a while. Like my TBR is so long. These books I'm dying to read in my head. I think,
Mhm.
man, I really need to start this book. But then when I sit down to read, my brain is, la la land. Like if I don't read Molly's sequel soon, I'm gonna go crazy. But
Oh
I'm
my
the only
gosh.
person holding myself back from reading it. Like, what's my problem? I don't know. Stupidity.
Yeah.
So
It's
yeah,
fantastic.
that's why when it comes to authors, yeah, I expect it to be awesome. By the way,
Yeah.
when it comes to authors who really inspired me, or I can't say I read enough of
Mhm.
every or of I can't say I've read enough of one author. I've read a lot of authors, Michael Crichton, Stephen King, obviously Tolkien. I mean, I've read a lot of different people, but I can't say I read enough from one person to truly be like, yes, this is it. This person
Yeah.
is fantastic. Yeah, it has inspired me. I mean, they've all been wonderful, and I've enjoyed their books. So don't get me wrong. Just I can't say that like this person has had an influence on my style or my thinking or the way that I write or anything like that. It's just that's a flaw in me, I think, not necessarily a bad question.
So who would you say is your like favorite character in your book?
I really liked Emma.
Okay.
I enjoyed writing her. Of course, I got visually, who the female actress Felicity Jones. She did Rogue One and a bunch of
Yeah.
others. Inferno with Tom Hanks. So she was my muse, and so because
Okay.
I had this very early image of her in my head,
Hmm.
um, she was easy to write, and so she was fun to write because she was easy to write. But I had some side characters. I enjoyed writing Vicky. Anyone who's read it will probably know why I like Vicky. Then I did also like Bryant, another character. He's a journalist and the kind of slang ball journalist. He was kind of
Okay.
fun to write, and I could be a complete
Yeah.
jackwagon. When I wrote his character, like I'm going to say all the things that I know I shouldn't say and do all the things I
Yeah.
shouldn't do, as so on. And I did. I kind of made him a stereotypical sleazebag journalist. Unfortunately, sometimes you have the stereotypes that you throw in there for fun,
Yeah.
but yeah, he was a fun character to write. So those three characters I think were fun to write. And then some characters were a struggle bus for me as well. Like I just, Oliver, he's a main character or side to slash main character. And he was difficult because I couldn't visualize him in my head. I couldn't
Okay.
find a face to him. Um, I knew what I wanted him to be, and I knew what direction he needed to be in the story. And his, of course, his direction also changed multiple times. He died, he lived, he died, he lived. Like like what do I do with him? And I had like several
Hmm.
different endings for his storyline. Where he died and where he lived and how he died and how he survived. So like you'll have to read the story to
Yeah.
see which one I chose. But so that also made it difficult. So I just couldn't totally just I don't know visualize him in my brain the way that I did with Emma and even Bryant and Vicky. Like those three I could see in my head clear as day. So they were easy to write and then fun to write as well.
I see that. Who was it? I don't know. I'm subscribed to someone's newsletter. I don't remember, and they were talking about how when they write stories, I don't know if there's it's called something or what, but they can't see a face whenever they're
Aphasia,
writing. Okay. All right. So
visual
they just write
aphasia
a
or something
character.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah. They usually talk about the apple, where
Okay.
you got the perfect apple. People
Uh-huh.
see the perfect apple, and then other people, the spectrum at the other end is it's just the word.
Yeah.
It's just the idea. And then you got people like it's just a vague outline, and they get the whole progress in between.
Yeah.
And I think it's a type of aphasia. I think is what they like a visual aphasia or something. Someone in the comments should fact check me. Um,
Yeah.
Go, Sarah and Tim. But yeah, so that I think that does happen a lot with people. They can't see that person in their head, and for them maybe it's not a problem. For me, it was a problem.
Yeah.
I struggle with that. With those with Oliver on that,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
Yeah. I always think that that's interesting on having to visualize what a person looks like. It's I get it. I guess I mean, there's sometimes where like I guess because like some authors write differently where they don't go into quite a bit of detail on what the person looks like. So I'm wondering if it's more like supposed to be kind of like a mystery, kind of figure it
Right.
out yourself, where you've got others that are just like full board, like their hair color, if they've
Yeah.
got a mustache, if they wear glasses, it's just completely wrote out for you. I always find that real interesting on how different authors are different on how
Oh
they
yeah,
do that.
absolutely. And it even goes hand in hand with genre too. I think like going back to fantasy. Oh, she
You're
said, I
correct.
think you're correct.
Good job.
Um, So I think fantasy, obviously, they love to go into description of things, so that
Yes.
you'll see a lot more of that. And maybe in romance, I can't say 'cause I don't ever read it, but I can just imagine, like, they want to talk about how handsome he is, how beautiful
Yeah.
she is, and those things.
Yeah.
I can imagine, describing his ripped abs, which I don't have anymore,
Yeah.
is, probably a nice visual to have. But
Yeah.
I try to find a balance in mine. I wanted to describe a little bit of what I saw in my head, but I also didn't want to like ruin it for people.
Mhm.
I think I got a healthy balance there. My readers can tell me if I'm right or wrong, but no one's complained about it. So I guess I hit the balance that I wanted with it.
Yeah.
Um, I tried to talk more about habits.
Okay.
Like Emma is always eating bananas and drinking Red Bull, and people did comment on that. What is with the Red Bull thing? And that's
Hey.
me. I drink 2 to 3 monsters every day. Like, I mean,
Oh
I'm
my
just
gosh.
sorry because I don't drink coffee. I don't like coffee. I don't drink
Yeah.
coffee, so that's my caffeine. And I try to get them. Two is really my max, but sometimes I push three if I am really struggle bus that day. But
Yeah.
so yeah, I think that was me, coming out like, oh, she got a Red Bull. She needs another Red Bull. I don't like
Yeah.
coffee. She says, I don't like coffee. And so that was Blake in there, like, all right, there you go.
Wonder what the world was like before energy drinks. I just don't
It was
remember.
boring. It was
I
boring.
agree.
So the first time, my first experience with this, it was early 2000s, which I think was actually kind of late
Yeah.
for experiencing Red Bull. I don't remember when they really came out. I was buying a car, or I was
Okay.
looking for buying a car, and I was at a dealership, and they had set up like at the shopping mall,
Mhm.
and so they brought all their cars from all their dealerships, and it was one big banner of a dealership though. And I sat down with this guy, and he's like, "Do you want a Red Bull? We have free Red Bulls. You can have a Red Bull if you want one. I've been having them all day." And I'm like,
It's like,
"Dude,
whoa.
like you need to slow down." And I didn't even know what it was at that point. I
Yeah.
had no idea what it was. All I knew was, man, he is amped. And the guy was
Yeah.
like 65 or something. Like, he was so close to retirement. I was like, you're gonna have a heart attack. Especially when I realized what it was. He gave me the key. I picked it up and I looked at it. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, how many
Yeah.
of these have you had today? Speed racer over there is
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Oh, hold on. We're safe. Thank
Oh,
goodness. Thank goodness.
we are now alone together.
Yes, we are. We are.
Yeah.
Whew.
Great book, by the way.
Oh, yes. I
Wait,
read it.
sorry. Let me correct that.
Okay.
Great series, by the way.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go. I've
Yeah.
read Alone
I
Together.
unfortunately I get them all before everyone else does
Oh,
because
yeah, of course.
I am his formatter.
Yeah.
So I format all of his books, and I screwed up
Yeah.
his Sinner's Pass this on the second release. I'm so frustrated with that. But it's so hard. I'm trying to format his books and not read it at the same time. I'm like, just format it. Just format it. Worry
Yeah.
about that paragraph, Blake. Don't read the character what happens to,
Uh-huh.
oh,
Yeah.
that's so tempting.
Yeah. You've read what, two or three of them?
Yeah, yeah, two.
Okay.
Well, I have three. I'm about to get his fourth here soon when he's ready to send it to me.
Hmm.
But I've read the two that are officially released.
Yeah. I've read Alone Together and it's so good. So wasn't
Thank you,
Princess?
Mr. Fitzgerald. But
Yeah. Yeah.
I
It
still
was
feel bad.
fantastic. The one thing I liked about it too is the like military aspect of it.
Oh my
On
gosh,
like
yeah,
on like how like that's probably how it would go. Because I mean, he's a military guy. Obviously, he's gonna know,
yeah,
So it's like
yeah,
that's always in the back of my mind. It's like, okay, I'm gonna take this as pretty much fact because I feel like he would know
yeah.
on how
I
everything would
thought
go
to
along.
myself, like, oh, I could write a military book, and then I read
Yeah.
his. I'm like, no, I couldn't.
Yeah.
No, I can't. Because
Yeah.
there's no way I could get that kind of accuracy and a fun
Yeah.
story at the same time. I'd either go
Exactly.
way overboard in the research and the book would be boring, or I'd have a lot of fun with the book and I'd have terrible accuracy on it. I could never do it the way that he did it. Man, what a wonderful mix. I
Okay,
loved
I'm
it.
gonna say this, and I'm gonna sound real dumb whenever I do it. Once you tell me this answer, or SS will. The beginning of Alone Together. That's either the longest prequel I've ever read, or that's another book. What is it?
Yeah, that's a good question. Um, I think that it's just the way that it's set up in general. He
Okay.
had that particular vision of how he wanted to set it up, but
Yeah.
it is. It's just being told from those different perspectives. The
Yeah.
news broadcasts and all that stuff. So you don't really
Yeah.
get to see any of the characters. Um, and it is trying to show you the very beginnings of what it's
Mhm.
like to experience, when it all goes down. And that's what I love about his, the first one is you get to experience
Yeah.
how it all actually goes down. Now, don't get me wrong, I love Molly, and I love hers, but
Mm,
you see hers from a different perspective of how
yeah,
you start in with her character, Kate. The apocalypse has already happened. You see the backflashes,
yeah,
with Nick and Kate and their experiences, but you don't actually see it come out. Sorry, Molly, I love you. Please don't take it as an insult. But this one, with Alone Together, you see it all play out. You
yeah,
see it from the beginning, all the suspicion that people have. You get that lady who's like, "Why are you killing these zombies?" And, people will be like, and there'd be some little old Karen out there doing
yeah,
that. And that's what made me so mad about The Walking Dead when they
mm,
did which Walking Dead, the first spinoff, Fear of the Walking Dead,
no,
and the whole premise was going to be this is from the beginning. This is how the whole outbreak happens. And they literally spend like 30 minutes in the first episode. And then after that, they do a cut scene. And then
yeah,
the outbreak has already been, and they're like well into the apocalypse.
yeah,
I'm like, what? Like you totally ruined it. You should have spent the whole first season just dealing with
mhm.
that. And that would have been so much fun. And Fitzgerald nailed it.
That's what
So
I'm curious about, like on his books, on where it's going, because you're right. You start at the very beginning, and this thing's going to be what, at least 8 books is the
I think so.
plan. So it's like
Yeah.
it's a long story, so it's going to get crazy. I mean, I know that.
Well, there are
Uh,
little hints there,
yeah.
where you're like, this is not just a normal zombie. Of course,
Yes.
he refers to
Yes.
them as the infected. And you're like, wait a minute,
Yeah.
hold on, like this
Oh,
is
12 books. My
12.
bad. Okay.
That's music to my ears. If
Yes.
I could get myself to read it, But yeah, no, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
It's gonna be awesome.
Okay. Okay. He's here. We're all safe. We'll continue on.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So, do you have like a favorite line that you wrote in your book? Like anything that just like, I wrote that. I'm such a
Hmm.
genius.
I took some of those out.
Really?
Yeah, because at one point, who was I reading? I was reading something at the same time I was writing, and I was like, "Wow, what beautiful prose!" And it's just great and wonderful. And then I started to I was like, "I kind of want to do that," and it got really purplish. I got my purple prose in there, and I was like, "This isn't me. This isn't me." That's not really my style. I'm copying somebody. So when I went back to do my draft two, I ripped a lot of that out,
Yeah.
because I knew it wasn't me, and it just didn't really fit the story. And so I really took that the advice of kill your darlings. I took
Yeah.
it to heart, not just with killing characters that I
Yeah.
thought were darlings, but also like these sentences, these story scenes and chapters that I think, oh, this is why I really want this one. It's been in my head since day one, and I'm like, nope,
Yeah.
you got to take it out. So I did. I killed my darlings, and when I did that, I felt really good afterwards. Not when I was doing it. When I was ripping those perfect quotable things out and those wonderful scenes I thought were just so perfect. When I was ripping them out, I was like, my heart was breaking, and I'm like, no, this is awful. But then when I actually went back and read it in draft three and draft four, I was like, I'm so glad I took
Yeah.
those out. I'm so glad I changed that. Now, there are a few things that I did go back and add into it. I'm not going to say what they are. I went back and added certain elements, and I kind of wish I hadn't, but it's a done deal, and people are happy with the book. So maybe it was the right decision.
Okay. Look who else showed up. Mark.
Hey, there he's
Yeah.
Mark.
Late.
That's okay. I was late
Yeah.
too.
Blake is a legend.
Thanks,
Yes, we
Marky
did start a
Mark.
couple minutes late. No big
Yeah.
deal. No big deal. I was about to text you, Mark, but that's another thing for another day. We ain't got to worry about that now. So, how do you make time for your personal projects around what you're already doing, like your writing? Like,
I I am the stereotypical, again, I've said it like 5 times tonight, ADHD person. I get this inspiration. I want to do something. I want to do this. I want to do that. And man, I'm just gonna, and I go headlong into it. And then I abandon the project.
Hmm.
Um, this is this is symptomatic of a lot of people with severe ADHD. They just you love starting projects, but you can never finish them. That's why I was so proud of myself when I finished Bella because I did it. I took it to completion. I did not let myself fall into that trap of starting a project and abandoning it. So I am trying to have better dedication on that and really make myself be more disciplined on finishing the projects I start. So because of that, I have lots of projects, lots of side projects, and I just can't help myself. And I'm always like, this is it. This is a great idea. I've got to do this one. So I have some side projects I cannot talk about yet because they're way too early, but they potentially could be. Oh man, this could be great. And one project in particular, I'm really psyched about, and I literally cannot talk about it. But I have another project that we can talk about. Well, not yet. Well, it
Yeah,
depends on
we're
the
getting
time
there.
schedule, but we're getting there. And that's
Yeah,
a project that really got under my skin, and I had to do it. And
yeah,
we made it happen. Amon and Molly and I were like, we're doing it, and I spearheaded it, and I loved it. Then with the books, it's hard because okay, so some things like say websites, and I do websites for a side job. I could throw together a website in a weekend. If I'm really,
oh
really
wow,
passionate about it, I'll throw
yeah,
one. No, I might be ripping a template apart and piecing it together and kind of, stealing a little bit from free templates and kind of making my own. But I can throw up a complete website in a weekend, using some frameworks and stuff. So I love doing that. I got like, I don't know, personal websites, one, two, three, four, five, six
okay,
personal websites for different
yeah,
side projects, um one for my website company, one for my personal website services, one for
yeah,
Dark Veil Society, one for my writing, one for the project we'll announce at the end of the day, one for another project that I can't talk about yet. So I mean, I've got all these little things, and then on my
yeah,
actual clients, so I have actual clients that I do work for. Then my books. So I was just like, man, I am just all over the place. And my wife hates it because I'm a workaholic.
yeah,
And when things get under my skin, I cannot let it go. I can't drop it. It's this itch that I have to scratch. And so projects will get put in the back burner, and I'll just go full steam ahead with this one. And then when it fizzles out, I go to another project. And it's nice if they go on a cycle and I
yeah.
come back to a project, which thankfully I have done with some of the more important ones in some of my writing works, but sometimes I never come back to them.
Yeah.
I have a genealogy website. I was like, I'm
Yeah.
going to create a genealogy website, and I've never come back to it. It's just
Yeah.
sitting in the middle of development on the computer, never go back to it.
Does that help with like your ADHD where you're because that you can do that so fast, it doesn't affect you to where like say writing a book takes a while. I mean, like you had said, it
Yeah,
took 2 years to do that. So it's like,
yeah. I mean, okay, I've heard stories of like someone who's like really on the spectrum, how they can sit
mm,
down and write an entire, 100,000 word, book in a weekend. I've heard stories
oh
of it. I
wow.
don't know. I don't know how you can actually do it. I don't know how that
Yeah.
can actually be done. How fast you'd have to be typing and to pants the whole entire thing. You'd have to.
Whew.
You'd have to be pantsing, and you'd have to be doing like
Yeah.
150 to 160 words per minute, and you're not stopping to take a pee break. You got your bottle by your desk.
Man.
I just don't know how you could do it. So, but on a
Yeah.
website you could do that. So yeah, certain
Yeah.
projects are easier to really grab a hold of because you can knock it out really fast. Other projects like writing, it's harder. Um, and with a website, if there's a problem, you can go back and fix it. With the
Mm,
book,
yeah.
no, you can't. Once it's out there, yeah, you can do a second edition, but
Yeah.
nah,
It's
you
not
can't. It's not the same.
okay.
So you have to be more careful with that.
Yeah. So are you planning at any point to possibly do an audiobook for it?
I actually looked into it, but I found that Some of the services were either too rich for me.
Mhm.
Some of the good voices were just too rich for me. I just didn't have the money to invest in it, especially when I realized that the potential income from it might not balance it.
Yeah.
So I I've tried to have been very analytical on the investments that I made. I made investment in an editor. I paid her good, and she did a great job. I made investment in artwork. I feel, and I made my money back on those things. So I feel good about that, and I feel like those things really have a direct impact on it. But I just really feel like putting 2 grand down on a potential audiobook just wasn't it. And then there was royalty sharing, which still maybe on the table for that. But, man, I feel so sorry for a guy like I sell 5 audiobooks. He gets a buck.
Yeah.
He did all that time on it, and I'm like, man, I feel so bad for someone if that's what my end up sales be. Like that should be awful. I just
Yeah.
don't know what the actual math would be. I can't do the math of what my audiobook sales potentially would be, because I hear some people they make a ton, and then other people like I make nothing off of it. So I can't justify it yet. Now maybe down the road when I'm a more successful writer, and I have more books, and I have more profit that I can dump back into reinvestments, then I might
Mhm.
release an audiobook for Hoopa Bell and the Witch Elm. But as of right now, no. But I heard some great auditions.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then I heard some of the like kind of like, oops. I There's one section of the book, so without any spoilers, um, there's a few chapters that are it's a journal entry for a character from 1943. So you're reading these journal entries that are just sporadically throughout the book. And he's the original, this is actually a historical person. He's the original CSI, back before they even called him CSIs, but he's a real person from history. And I use his character, and I make up his journal all about the Bella case. And he's very scientific. So at one point, and I can't even read it, um, he he's talking about the insect feasting on corpses,
Mhm.
and he quotes 2 books that were written in the 1800s, so it would have been prior to his time, that talk about it. So I kept it very accurate on the history of whether or not they knew how insects would feast on corpses, and how they understand timeline of deaths and stuff like that, which is kind of cool. I didn't know that they
Yeah.
had it that early on. But one book was a French title, and it was like 8 words, and another one was a German title, and it was like 8 words, and it's all like one sentence of the paragraph.
Huh.
I put that for the audition. So
Yeah.
I had to force people, like, because I know this is going to be tough. I don't want them to be like, oh, this is going to be an easy book to do. And then they get to that one chapter, they just totally butcher it. And some of them did. And I was like, like, oh,
Yeah.
well, okay, yeah, you're not it. Sorry, like you couldn't eke out the German and the French titles there. That was bad. And then
Mhm.
others, like, it was just like they spoke it fluently, and it was wonderful. I was like, wow, okay, now you got a little check mark next to your name, and you're saved, because I liked your audition. So
Sarah said I heard Tim's a pretty good audiobook narrator, which is
Timmy, do
true.
you speak German and French?
Yeah. I
We'll
don't
see if
know.
he's still on. Yeah,
And then SS a Tim versus
yeah.
Steve would
Versus
be.
Steve.
That's
There.
right. Oh yes. Yeah, I'm
Oh
sure that does
goodness.
help. Like with Tim, like I know he does his own audiobooks,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that saves, I'm sure, a fortune in
I
money.
hate my voice. I hate my voice. I,
Yeah.
I lisp a little bit when I get tired.
Mm.
And I feel like I have a high voice. Other people say I have a low voice. I don't know. You guys can be your own critiques on that one. I hate my
Yeah.
voice. I could not imagine me doing an audiobook. I'm sorry. No, not going to do it.
Yeah.
I'd be
I
awful
know
on it.
E.L. Montague does his he's very good at it as well.
Mhm.
I'm always curious on well, like say like Jeff Hayes, who does Dungeon Crawler Carl. With him doing so many voices in a book, like to me, that would be rough to have to do.
Right. Yeah.
Like that would
Yeah.
that'd be awful.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and the other problem too is, since my book is based in the UK, I would want a British
Yeah, no, that makes
voice
sense.
actor. And there's no way I'm going to do a British accent. It would come out like Cockney. like, okay, I'm sorry, Emma is not Cockney. Like
Yeah.
that's all I got. Like,
Yeah.
sorry, that's not gonna work. I would totally butcher it. So I did. I specifically looked for someone with a good British accent, and I could tell which
Yeah.
ones were faking it. They were not. They were
Yeah.
American. And when I listened to the samples, I knew they were an American doing a British accent. So I was like, yeah, you're off right away.
Yeah.
I wanted that authenticity.
Do you have a dream project that you hope to start one day or finish?
No, not necessarily. Like one particular idea or project. No. If we're talking writing, no. Um, I definitely want to say though that I don't want to be just a one book author. I
Yeah.
know I'll never be prolific. I know I'll never be, Stephen King, where I've got 100 books. I know it's never going to happen for me. I started way too late, and I'm just too slow, unless something miraculous changes in my
Yeah.
writing style, but or economic circumstances where I can quit my day job. But um, but I definitely just want to say that I wrote 10 books.
Yeah.
I think that for me that would be my I guess my opus or whatever. I got a nice chunk of books where I could say I was actually an author, not just some guy who got a crazy idea and he wrote a book and that was all we ever hear from him again. But
Mhm.
no, he wrote several books and they were decent. That to me would be, I think, a great, like, that would be awesome,
Okay.
writing wise.
Elian, how are you?
Hey, fellow Ohioan.
Oh, there we go. There we go. All right. So let's move over to how did you get connected with the Dark Veil Society?
I killed a goat.
Okay.
Sacrifice a goat. Yep. I had the drawing of it somewhere. It was just a drawing. I took something off the internet and I just drew it because he said, Amon said, hey, anyone interested, send me a DM. And I said, how many people do I have to sacrifice, or how many goats do I have to sacrifice to get in DVS? I'm repping my
That's right.
sweatshirt, by the way. And of course, I've got my if I ever need some you know
Very
hot
nice.
cocoa or
Very
something.
nice.
Yeah.
I need to get me one
Um,
of those. Are
that
they
you
on
can
y'all's
get.
website?
That one is.
Okay.
This is not.
That's
Sorry.
exclusive. You
That's
have to be in
right,
the
members.
club.
It's a members only jacket.
Hmm.
But no, he threw that out there last year around February. So it's actually been about a year since I've joined. This is pretty close to my anniversary. It was definitely before my launch, which I actually missed my anniversary of because that was March 1st. I was so busy with other things, I didn't even think about it. I totally butchered that anniversary. But yeah, so I hooked up with them really quick. I had discovered them prior to that, when I read Molly's book and Janelle's, and of course, Amon hadn't written his yet. He hadn't released the Veil at that point, so I hadn't read his yet. But I was like, wow, this is a group I really want to be a part of. So I was schmoozing and kissing butt and posts and stuff like that. Like maybe they'll catch notice of me somehow.
Yeah.
And so when he put that on there, anyone interested, send me a DM. And Sean Euste and I at the same time, we both were like jumping on that as fast as we could. And when we got into the Discord, I was like, Sean, you're in here too. He's like, yeah. And I was like, yes. I was like, another friend of mine that I know.
Yeah.
So that was cool. We came in the same day, But yeah, it was great. Really, I felt like I met my heroes a little bit of the indie world when I could walk in there and I could see Janelle, I could see Molly. It was great. Of course, Sean was already in the group at that point. Um, because you got the two Seans, of course,
Yeah.
and so yeah, it's been a wonderful journey. We've had a couple of people come and go. We've had one person come and then go and then come back,
Get back.
which is fun. Um, and that's just the nature. It's all been fairly amicable and all those things. Just people going different directions and stuff. But overall, I've loved the experience of being with that group and just all chit chatting about horror, about books, about
Yeah.
life. We try to stay away from politics if we can, but
Yeah.
that's just, some of those things are inevitable. But
Mm,
we have a lot of fun together in the Discord and stuff like that. So I've enjoyed it. I've considered it definitely a blessing from day one.
yeah. See, SS. Next week, Blake will announce his 18 book series. There we go. The legendary Sean
That's
Sandwich.
right.
That's
That's
right.
right. Yeah,
Yeah, I interviewed Iman. I guess it was after The Ranger came out.
I think so. I
Um,
remember watching it.
yeah, and like me and him, I feel like we write each other at least once a month, once every couple of weeks, and like I really enjoyed The Ranger, and then but after The Veil came out, I think I'd even told him I was like, I think you found your niche. Like
Yeah,
there's just like The Ranger was good without question, but it's like once he started writing the horror stuff in it, it's like, okay, this is what you need to be doing. Like you
yeah,
have found
yeah,
it.
yeah.
And then obviously Puddle People, and I can't wait for Silver Sun. Oh my gosh, I cannot wait to read that
Although
book.
I'm ready to read a book that he totally abandoned. He hyped it up so much, 3 days,
Three
and
days.
I'm like,
I've got the arc for or the beta, whatever.
"Oh,
And
you
he's like,
do?
yeah, but he told me don't read it. He said I've changed it. Yes, I've got it though.
Okay."
Yes, he
And
sent
I
it
was
to
like,
me like,
"Okay, come on." And then
yeah,
he just like, "I'm writing Silver Sun." I'm like, "What? What?" Like, well,
yeah,
come on, man! Don't tease me like that.
yeah. He sent me. It
Uh,
was either the alpha or the beta for it. I can't remember which one. And I got it at Christmas, or maybe it's I don't even remember. It was a long time ago, a while, and I ended up not getting to read it. Something happened. I don't even remember. And then he came out with Puddle People, and I read that as an arc. And then he told me, he's like, have you read 3 days? And I thought no, I just hadn't had time. He's like, good, don't, because I'm changing it all. I'm like, okay, thank
well,
goodness then.
hopefully that means he is going to release it because
Yeah,
I was interested in the way that he talked about it in our Discord chat. Some of the things I'm like, okay, this is I like it.
yeah,
Because I tell you what, I was only a zombie movie person until I read Dark Bloom, and then I
okay,
was like, okay, zombie books are fun. And
yeah,
of course, Alone Together. I was like, definitely zombie books are fun. And then I
yeah.
read Hot Dose of Hell, and I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm sold. I'm totally for these like weird infected zombie type whatever stuff. It's like, okay, come on,
I've not read
this is
Hot
great.
Dose of Hell, but I've got to read it. I know
It was
it's on the
fun. It
list to
was a
read.
lot of
Yeah,
fun.
and it's
It
pretty
was just a
short too,
great
ain't it?
book. Yeah, it's a pretty quick
Yeah,
read. It's not
yeah,
short, but
yeah, yeah.
it's not a hefty beast of anything.
Mhm.
I don't know how many words he actually had. I had it on EPUB. I read most of my stuff on
Yeah,
EPUB because I can read a lot in the bus and public transport when I'm going to and from classes. So I don't actually know how thick it was in my hand because I
yeah,
didn't hold it. So, but
yeah.
it's great. I loved it,
Yeah.
and I'm looking forward to his next stuff. Zombie
Yeah.
books are
Well,
fun. Yeah, they are.
and still have to read World War Z. I've watched the movie and I
That's
loved the
great,
movie.
man.
I
Oh my
love that
gosh, it's
movie.
like your heart gets
Yeah,
pumping from like the first 3 minutes
yeah,
of that movie, and they just does not let go. What a great movie! And it's
no,
Brad Pitt. I mean, I
yeah.
never thought I'd like
You
a
can't go
good
wrong.
Brad Pitt movie. Usually,
Yeah,
I'm not a big fan of his, but like, hey,
yeah.
you know what? He was great. It was fun.
I tell you what, I watched Form F1. I don't know if you watched it or not,
Not yet.
but
Mhm.
it's pretty dang
A
good.
lot of people say it's great. A lot of people
Yeah,
say it's great.
I actually think they're making a sequel to it too.
Oh,
So
really? Well,
I think
it made
so.
enough money. Why not?
Yeah, that's right. All right, so we're pushing an hour or a little over. So I guess would you like to announce some stuff while we start winding things down?
Yeah. So I'll start with the small announcements. I do have two books that I'm writing. And I'm doing them at the same time. One of them is a 1970s cosmic horror written in Ohio, rural Ohio,
Roll, roll.
written in non-urban Ohio. Kind of toward the West Virginia border, and it's a fun one. It's a cosmic horror, which is not normally my style. I really like paranormal, but it's a fun book. I have lots of rewrites in my head already for things as I'm on my pauses and hiatus for that, doing other projects. I love it. I'm coming back to it. I am going to finish it. It's great. It's written from the perspective of a father and a daughter. You just go back and forth between the two chapters on them, and I really enjoy it. I think it'll be a fun one. Could be a sequel or it could have a series, but it might be a one-off. We'll see.
Or do you think it
And then
could
my
be 18 books? an 18-book
Ooh,
series. I mean, wink,
maybe that
wink.
could be
You
it, Sean. Maybe a little prophetic there.
yeah, look at that.
Um, but then my other one is a paranormal, which is my usual bread and butter for all the things I like to read, write, and watch is paranormal. And it's a haunted house slash hotel, an active hotel though. And it's about two siblings, brother and sister, and it's a little bit autobiographical because one character is me and one character is my sister. And the twist there is that my character is the female and my sister's character is the male. Um,
Okay.
and I just felt like it needed to be that way for whatever reason. But the fact though of who my sister is, though, she died of Down syndrome. And so the character, the male character that she kind of inhabiting there is has Down syndrome, and so it's a fun book as well. I'm really enjoy writing that one. It's very cathartic, in a lot of ways to write about uh, that part of my life. Of course, I know a lot of people have put their own personal tragedies into things. With the veil, you see that, and Ashiki's talked about, her personal trials that she's put into her works as well. And even Molly, she's put her personal stuff into. So I think writing from that, reading their stuff, I felt like, I need to put my stuff out there to it. So that's my works going on right now. Those announcements, those aren't secret. Then dun, 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 drum. Okay. So obviously, Dark Veil Society, we have lots of things that we like to do. So we started, one of my projects that I just couldn't, let go is let's do something fun for the community. So I came up with the jigsaw challenge in the summer, where it was like the NCAA bracket style, books, and of course, Clatterman won. And that was fun. A lot of people participated in that, and that was great. Then, and of course, in the summer, you don't really have anything. So I just had to pick Jigsaw. It could have been anybody, but, I
Yeah.
picked Jigsaw. For Christmas, we did the Epic Failure one. It was also my brainchild of the Krampus, and I made the rules for it way too difficult. Next year, it's getting changed. It's going to be a whole lot easier for people to participate in the Krampus one.
Yeah.
But it was fun though, is kind of this idea of people and what they know about DVS books, about the authors. It's kind of like a kind of a quiz show, so to speak. People got to know the people of DVS that way, and the books. It was fun to make, but the participation I was a little bit low. But I tell you what, someone in this chat won, and she got it. Um, so those were the two. That was the summer and the winter one. Then we did a fall one for Halloween. So we're doing these quarterly events. The fall one, we decided we wanted to do something a little bit different. So instead of doing a free giveaway of books like we did with the Jigsaw Challenge and Krampus, we decided that we wanted to do a children's youth writing contest. So we got together some rules. We put up the rules. We put up on the website. We contacted some schools and stuff, and small number of participants. But we had a little winner from my alma mater,
Nice.
um, she Stedman, and she wrote a great little story, very Edgar Allan Poe-ish, about a raven and everything. It was great, a great little flash fiction. It's on our website. You can go on there and read it. For Dark Veil Society, it's in our press release section, I believe. Matter of fact, it's actually on the homepage. I think when you scroll down after the pictures, I think it actually has the announcement for her right there.
Yeah.
And so that really was something cool. But we obviously we paid out for that. We actually gave them some nice rewards. So that cost some money, and we thought to ourselves, like, it's a worthwhile investment, to help children and to help people experience what it's like to be an author. These are young minds, and we don't want them to go the route that we talked earlier, where they don't ever pick up a book again after
Yeah.
school. We don't want people to go that route. This is a privilege that we have to be literate in the world, and we don't want to go backwards in society. So we really like that idea. And we're definitely going to do the Halloween challenge again, flash fiction challenge. So that will be an annual thing that we do. We'll do the jigsaw every summer. We'll do Krampus every winter. We'll do the Halloween writing contest in the fall. So then we thought about what do we do for the spring, and I was like, well, how about we obviously need some income because no one wants to pay out their pocket to pay these kids. So why don't
Yeah.
we come up with some type of fundraiser idea? We'll do a little fundraiser, and maybe get some money, just a little something that we could then apply to these kids stuff. And that just got the wheels turning in my head. I was like, we could maybe do a little bit more than just raise a couple $100 for some children's contests, for them to get a reward. And maybe even give them a little bit more than just what we gave them. Like first place is $150 gift card, to Barnes and Nobles. So we got to talking. Even Sean and I were talking a little bit about this, and I was talking to Molly and Mr. Bradley, and we thought, yeah, let's broaden our horizons a little bit, and let's see what other ways can we give back. So when you think about the spring, it's not like in the summer, you don't have a idea like Krampus or Halloween in America. But in Europe, you have Walpurgis Night. Walpurgis Night is weird. It's kind of like Halloween, where it's had lots of iterations and evolution to its existence. And
Okay.
Walpurgis Night is the same way. It does have a lot to do with witches, and you got these big bonfires that you burn on April 30th as you go into May Day on the first day of May. And there's lots of European traditions with that. And of course, the churches come in and kind of taken over some pagan ideas and put it with the Saints' Day of Walpurga, who was an 8th century saint, young female. Um, but so we picked that. We're like, okay, it's great. It's in the spring, Walpurgis Night. And we're like, we're going to do a fundraiser, a Walpurgis Night fundraiser. So that was our idea that we were going to have, just to come up with things. And the more I thought about it, I was like, why don't we do it the right way? So I got the crazy notion of why don't I file for a 501c3 status for an organization called Walpurgis Words for Literacy? And some people probably thought I was a little crazy. Like, you're going to apply for a 501c3 status organization for this? I'm like, well, I've done it before with another thing, so why not do it again? So I did it. I incorporated in the state of Ohio for Walpurgis Words of Literacy. Then I applied for 501c3 status back in February, and we got the approval letter yesterday. We
Heck
are
yeah.
now officially a 501c3 nonprofit organization, all for children's literacy. So we have a website. Of course, guess who did the website
Yeah.
in one weekend?
Yeah.
Walpurgiswords.org. We actually have a Twitter handle as well, Walpurgiswords. And I've sparsely used it because we didn't have approval yet. But now that we have 501c3 status, I'll definitely be using that a little bit more. And we are going to go full steam ahead now with a fundraiser. So I put together a GoFundMe, and anything that people donate to that is, it's a tax deduction for them. And so if you look at the website, we are focusing on a couple different things. First and foremost, the thing that we really want to push is the Halloween contest, funding that, possibly, definitely increasing the prizes that the kids can win, to get
Yeah.
more participation with that, maybe even paying some judges, outside of DVS, because right now it's just us judging it, but maybe get a couple people that are outside that community to come in and judge it. We'll all be horror based, but just to kind of bring a little bit more credibility to it, other than just DVS people.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So what we definitely want to do that, and then the other focus that we want to do is to get books in the hands of people. School libraries, they got books that need to be replaced. They have, small selection of things. So we want to take some of the money, set it aside, and get books in the hands of schools and small public libraries as well. I remember going to my small public library. It's called Winters Library. It's in my small hometown of Bellbrook, Ohio. It's named after Jonathan Winters, actually the actor that played with in Mork and Mindy.
Yeah.
Um, so I remember going there as a kid. It's small. It was just a little hole in the wall, but
Yeah.
I got books from it, and I read
Yeah.
it for school projects. I read it for, and I think that, these small libraries, they struggle sometimes to get things.
Mm.
So we're hoping that we can get books in the hands of schools, get books in the hands of public libraries. And we've even toyed with the idea of a mentorship program. How that would look, we don't know. But this idea of, let's mentor some kids on writing horror. Now, of course, horror can be a difficult topic. We do try to keep things clean for the kids, but you got things like, Fear Street, Goosebumps.
Yeah.
Kids just love those books.
Hmm.
So why not? Why not, have writing contests that are like that, and have people, working with experienced authors. We're indie, but we're experienced, and we know what we're doing. And we so this is what we are. This is kind of our new thing, is we write our books. We try to terrify people with it. It's our hobby. It's our livelihood. For some of us, that's what we're trying to do. But we also want to be able to give back to people, because we know that we receive from others, and we want to have that opportunity to give back as well. So Walpurgis Words for Literacy is an official 501c3 nonprofit. We got our own logo, we got our own website, we've got everything ready to go, we got our campaign up. So we will go full steam ahead from here until the end of April, although the campaign will run year round, so people can make donations anytime they want, obviously. But our main funding for the year will all come from every spring, leading up to Walpurgis Night on April 30th. So we have just a little less than 2 months to kick this off and see what we can get in the hands of kids for some new books at libraries, around the country. I'm sure we're not going to be funding every library, but hey,
Yeah.
we get a couple small schools
Yeah.
that need some books. Hey, we can provide them for that. Get some kids, who want to try their hand at writing something, and see what it's like to write and whatnot. Let's do it, and maybe
Yeah.
get enough kids. We could even do a children's anthology of all their stuff and publish it for them, and
Hey,
let
that'd
them
be cool.
experience the publishing, what it's like to get an editor,
Yeah.
what it's like to deal with an artist and all that stuff, and then have them all in there. They get the book for free because it's theirs, but then they can, they get paid just like they would, like any author would get paid for being in a anthology.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I will I'll put the link to all that in the description. So
thank you.
after this goes live and I put the replay up, I'll add it to it and everything. So, but yeah, so now y'all can go full bore on X and everything else and announce all of it. I've actually got on it yesterday when you messaged me about it. It's a really good website too. So
Thank you.
you did a
Thank
heck of
you.
a job. So it is interesting. So the
Yeah.
plan is for you to, for I guess for the kids to write like shorter horror
Flash fiction.
works. Flash. Okay. Okay.
Flash fiction, yeah. So I
Yeah.
mean, typically you think of anthology as a short story,
Yeah. Yeah.
but we didn't want to put too much stress on the kids because it's Halloween,
Yeah.
the beginning of the school year. A full short story might be a little too much, but flash fiction, they could do that,
Yeah.
and then it put less stress on us to write, or I'm sorry, to read and to judge, and then for them to write. So we thought flash fiction was kind of that perfect mix of
Mhm.
what those kids could do, and then what we could judge. Maybe one day we'll expand it to being short story,
Yeah.
and maybe even longer, if we ever get to that point. But flash fiction, I think, was a great place to start for the kids and for us. And man, her story was so much fun to read. Again, you can read her story out there. You can go get it on our website, on DVS's website.
That is awesome. Congratulations, I guess I
Thank
should
you.
say then.
Thank you.
So
Yeah.
that's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have nothing that cool that I can announce besides the only thing I got. If anyone is interested, I will say I dropped my monthly update or monthly recap today. So if anyone would like to win a copy of the Count of Monte Cristo, just comment the count in that video. And
If not, you could use
and
it to work out with,
that's
Just
right,
do
because this thing is huge
pump the
and it's
guns,
heavy
pump the
and
guns. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
but yeah, so I'll have that running for 2 weeks and then I'll announce the winner on my March 21st. That's when that is. So
And I am ineligible. I watched your video today and
yeah. Oh no, you can join. Hey, or wait, you're overseas.
I'm
That's
overseas.
that's right. I did have to say that because
Although
that
I
could
could
be.
have you send it to my parents, I
I
could pick it up
could.
this summer when I'm up.
I could. Yeah, absolutely. Or they could send it to you. All right. So I guess the last I have my normal last 3 questions, and then we'll wrap this up. So
Okay.
first off, what are you reading?
Nothing. That's the terrible. As I
Awesome.
mentioned, nothing. I have this massive TBR.
Yeah.
And right now, Molly's is sitting number 1. I have
Yeah.
got to read that. It's killing me that I haven't read it
Oh,
yet. But I just, I get tired and I get exhausted from all my little projects that I'm
yeah.
doing. Of course, I was full blow on Walpurgis Words for Literacy there for a while until I've just been waiting for the application to come back. So I didn't
Yeah.
even write, and that's just how I am. Or I didn't even read. But yeah, that's what I want to read. I want to read it. And I keep saying to myself, read the book,
Yeah.
and I
Yeah.
haven't. Sorry, Molly.
I'm sorry,
Upset
Sarah.
European.
I'm sorry.
Oh well, yeah, hypochondria. Come on now.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh me. All right. So what is your favorite book of all time? Do you have one favorite book? Or you can be two, if you've got a
This that's
couple.
that's really tough. I mean, I do come back to Woman in Black a lot, just because I love that might be it. I can't really say because any given day of the week I might answer differently. But I'll
Yeah.
say that for now. I think I've said that quite a bit, so that might be it.
Okay. And then what book would you recommend me to read?
Oh man, see that's tough because I don't know what you've actually read and not read. Well, you read it. Okay, Pet Cemetery. Have you read Pet Cemetery?
I have not. I have not.
I
It
read
is
that when I
on
was
the
a kid. I
list.
read that when I was a teenager, like junior high, I think. I read that because I
I
watched the movie. It scared the crap out of me. I wanted to
mhm.
read the book too.
I
It was a lot of
wish
fun.
I wish I would have read it whenever I was younger because I've seen who is it? I want to think it's Mike's Book
Yeah.
Reviews. I talked about how he read it when he was a kid
Yes.
and then now has read it again as an adult and it has
Yes.
totally different things to it. Like it's
Well,
just
I would definitely say that it's way more horror as a
yeah,
parent. So
yeah,
if you're actually in it for the horror experience, then yeah, read it as a parent, as a father. Um, if you just want to read it for a fun read, then yeah, read it when you're still single, or at least not a dad, because
yeah,
it does that changes it. Of course, I remember when I saw the movie because I saw the movie first. My jaw was on the floor,
yeah,
and everyone pretty much knows why. Well, I'm not going to say why, it's just in case someone hasn't read it, but my jaw was on the floor. I could not believe. I was like, that just happened. Like that's a rule. That's a rule. You don't do that. In
yeah,
books and movies, and they did it. And whew. And I wasn't. And
yeah,
I was still a kid, and I was flabbergasted by it. So that would be my suggestion. Yes, it's
yeah,
not indie, but I know you have a lot of devious indie stuff on your list,
mhm,
and you've already read a lot of it. So I can't
yeah,
recommend something that's already been read.
yeah.
So I would go with that one.
Okay. Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
that's all I've got. Do you have anything else?
that's all I've got,
Okay.
other than the realization of time change.
Yeah.
Marked on the calendar.
It's no big hey, it won't happen again. We'll say that, at least for 6 months.
Well,
So,
those are just things you just take for granted. You're just like,
yeah.
like you're like, well, hey, he's had his time change already. You probably thought that we had it at the same time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I
I
know that we
never,
don't have the same time, but I forgot that you had it,
yeah.
Well, there you go.
Yeah, it happens. And I never even
Yeah, it
heard your
does.
dog once that you were worried about. So,
Well, I think, fell asleep in the
oh,
other
there you go.
room. But my wife has texted me a couple times. Are you done yet? Are
Yeah.
you done yet? Are you done yet? I'm thirsty. I want to come and get something because we only have like this one. It's a small apartment, so this is like
Oh,
the doorway to the kitchen, and this is the living room. I don't have an
okay.
office. So
Yeah.
she's been stuck with my daughter in the bedroom, probably on her phone the entire time. Poor girl.
Yeah. All right. Well, we will end there. And
Okay.
I really appreciate you coming on. I had a blast. So,
Well, thank you. It's been an honor to
yeah.
be on here because I
Yeah.
see you all the time, and I was like, I gotta be on
Yeah.
the show.
Yeah.
I almost got a whole roll of quarters, thinking I might need to
Yeah.
keep dumping.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's right. We keep going. But yeah, thank you for everyone for
yeah.
being in the
Thanks
chat
for
and
having me.
everything and everyone that showed up. And thank you again. So, all right, we will end there and y'all have a fantastic